Welcome everyone to the video. Thanks for stopping by and taking a look. In this one, we're going to be talking about the Genesis framework of parent-child themes, and we're just going to get right into it. Now, before we begin, I would just want to give you a brief outline on what we'll be going over for the duration of this presentation. First, I'll be giving you a brief on themes. Next, I'll be getting into the Genesis system itself. Then I'll be doing a step-by-step walkthrough of a setup, and finally there'll be a live setup demonstration. Now, before we get to the actual presentation, I just want to put out a few quick disclaimers. First, I am not an employee, representative, or affiliate of StudioPress in any capacity. I do not represent any of the third-party developers or organizations I'll be mentioning. And while I do like this framework and think you should give it a shot, if you do, you'll be making them rich, not me. So, since I don't want to assume too much about your experience in this matter, we're going to do a brief on themes themselves. It's essentially a pre-configured look and layout for your site. It allows you to change it without code. If you have a site, you're using at least one. They come in typically two classes. They can be standalone or child themes. Standalones are what they sound like. Child themes usually inherit all their functionality from a parent theme. If you have a choice in the matter, you want to use child themes because that means the parent one can be updated without changing any of your settings on the child. Now to get to the Genesis framework itself, these are largely managed by StudioPress.com. They have a group that they make themselves, and they also offer ones by third parties. The stock theme, the Genesis framework, is very solid and robust, but even that has a child which is called the Genesis sample, and that's what we'll be working with later. And here's the homepage of StudioPress.com as of the time of this recording. So if you go to check it out, this is what you're going to see. So let's talk briefly about the pros to using this Genesis framework and just StudioPress in general. For one, the licensing and support is infinite. If you go to StudioPress and buy one theme on one day, they will always support you. Now, it's optimized for SEO. Now, this is a point that StudioPress likes to belabor. I myself have never had to dig into the tools, so you'll have to figure it out for yourself. Third point is everything I've used is very clean. Now, there's one glaring downside, which is kind of an observation for me. It may not be a problem for you. It depends on your experience level. The framework of Genesis themes are pretty light. I mean, you're not given much to work with in the way of onboard tools. This may not be a problem for you if you're a starter, but if you're used to other frameworks, like say the high-end themes that I've used on projects, you may notice that you're not given as many onboard tools to start with. Now again, this may or may not be an issue for you. It's just an observation I'm making. Now, if you want to add functionality, they make it easy enough by simply going into the WordPress plugin library. You do a search for Genesis, and you will get page after page of plugins that you can add on your own. One particular plugin I like to use a lot is called Simple Edits, which is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to make simple edits to any Genesis theme page. Now let's talk about pricing. How much is it going to cost you to actually get into this? Well, if you buy the base Genesis framework with that theme, that's going to run you $60, again, as of the time of this recording. If you get one of the other themes in their library, that will run you $100 to $130 depending on what you want. Now, the thing about this is once you buy one theme from them, everything else will be discounted because when you get the first one, they essentially have to sell you two, the parent and the child. After you've gotten that, as you can see in these prices, all they have to do is sell you the child because you already have the parent, which is reflected here. Now, if for some reason you decide that you like them that much, you can throw a really big wad of money at StudioPress and they will give you access to all the themes they create and instant access to any ones they make in the future. So with that out of the way, let's start to get into the actual theme setup process. And for the sake of argument, let's say that you bought the base Genesis framework with the Genesis sample. You're going to get both files, framework and the sample. When you download them to your computer, you will have these two archives, the Genesis sample and the Genesis framework, which will have the version number. At the time of this recording, it's 261. Now you'll install the parent, and then you won't activate that one. You'll go back, install the child. It'll check to see if the parent's there. It does. It'll say it's successful, and that's the one you activate. Now, just for some illustration, we're going to quickly show you what happens if you try to put the child theme in first before installing the parent. As you can see here in this short video, we don't have the parent installed. We're doing the child first, and WordPress will let you do it, but it'll throw you an error saying that it can't find the parent, and it won't let you use the child you just installed until you put the parent in. So when you go back to your theme page, you won't see it there. Now granted, it is there, but it's not going to show it to you until you go back and put in the base one. So when you do follow the proper procedure, again for the Genesis sample, this is what you're going to see first. And you can see it's pretty bland and you're not shown much. So the first thing you'll want to do is install the demo content. To start, you'll need to go into your tools under import, scroll way down and install the WordPress importer. Once you have that, it'll ask you to upload the XML file with the content you want. You find that XML file by extracting the archive of the child theme you set up, going into it and looking for the XML folder. And in that folder, there will be a single file that you'll just feed to the importer. Now, once you do this, it'll ask you if you want to import some of the demo users with the content. Now, by default, it'll make those users admins, so you may want to be careful about that. Now, once you do that and you take a second look, you'll notice that not much has changed. Now, if you try to check back to what you were shown in the demo, you're going to see that there's a bit more going on than what you're currently looking at now. And this is probably where you're starting to wonder, well, wait a second, what happened? So now let's go to the documentation to see what's going on. So if you bring up the page that talks about how to download and handle the sample content, it will tell you that that XML file will give you some posts and menus and whatnot by default, but there's a section buried deep in it that will explicitly say to you that importing the XML file does not automatically set up your site to resemble the demo. If you want the site to look like the demo, you'll need to use the setup guide to manually make that configuration on your own. And there are setup guides for just about every theme in the library, StudioPresses and the third-party ones, including this Genesis sample. So for starters, we're going to do a live Genesis sample install, walk through this, because this will be the most straightforward one, so you can have a sense of, in real time, just how one of these setups would go. Okay, so here we have a stock WordPress install, and we're going to be taking this from the top, installing the Genesis parent framework, then installing the Genesis sample child theme, and then we'll be building that out into the actual demo. And and just for reference, I have the Genesis demo open in a separate page here, just to give you a quick look of where we're going to be when all is said and done. We're going to scroll down a bit, see everything we'll be adding. And here we have the documentation inside StudioPress that we'll be using to go through the setup. We'll be focusing mainly on the widget section because all the sections ahead are pretty routine stuff. If you've done anything with WordPress, then you'll pretty much be comfortable with that as is. But if you're not, it's there, and it's just as straightforward. So to start, we're going to head up to the top, go to Themes, add New, and the first thing we're going to do is add in the parent Genesis framework. See up here at the time of this recording, the version is 2.6.1. As you can see, that installed successfully, but we're not going to activate it. It just has to sit inside your WordPress install. So we go back to Themes. Okay, you see the parent is there. Add New again. And this time we're going to do its child, the Genesis sample. Now here you see installed. Check to see if the parent was present, found it, and it set it up for you. So this one we're going to activate. So now you see we have the Genesis sample child theme in, and it's currently running on the site. And as you saw in the walkthrough, this is what we're starting with. It's pretty bland and nondescript, but don't worry, we're prepared for this. I showed you in the screenshots, this is where they're going to be starting you from, so no worries. First things first, let's do the demo content. So for that, we're going to go down to Tools, and under that, Import. Now when you scroll to the bottom of that page, you'll see the WordPress importer, and you just do Install now. We'll run the importer, and when you're inside that, it's going to ask you for an XML file. To find that, you go back to the archive of the child theme that you installed, extract that into a folder, which I've already done here. And inside of that folder, if it's a theme done by StudioPress, there will be a single XML folder which has a single XML file in it. Now, if you're using a third-party theme, this XML file may be just sitting inside a root. So just a bit of a heads up there. Okay, we have that. Now upload file and import. Now, the demo content comes with a demo user attached to some of it. As you can see, by default, this gent, Brian Gardner, is set to be an admin. If you're doing this for your own site or production site, you may want to take that content and connect it to an admin account you control, or at least another account that's not admin, for the sake of security. But for the sake of this demonstration, we'll let them bring in Brian Gardner and leave it at that. We'll give it a second to spin its wheels, importing. There, it says it's all done, and it's telling us to have fun. You having fun yet? So now let's head back to the page and see what we have. Okay, so we've gotten a little more help here. You see there's a little extra content in, a few extra posts, and they have some pictures with them. So it looks like we've got the main body of the site going. Now before we continue, let's talk a little bit about these pictures. Again, with the rest of the content that you'll get from any XML file, anything along the line of media will come through that and be in your media folder. Now there's a chance you may come here and see some gray blocks. That's because the demo that you see in the content won't always be shareable by the people who make it. And that you see on the screen, they'll say that if they have pictures they can't outright give you, they were replaced with gray placeholders. If you see an image in their demo that you really want for your site, then you'll have to go to some third-party stock image outfitter. Now here, in that same file, they make some suggestions for some spots you can go to get stock images. So now we've gotten that little heads up out of the way, let's get to actually building out the site. For that, we're going to go to Appearances and Customizer. Site Identity. And again, as I said to start, we're going to start from the top of the page and head all the way down. First thing we're going to do is the site title. Again, following the demo, that's just Genesis Framework. Get rid of this tagline. And just as a quick demonstration here, we'll briefly throw in a logo image just so you can see where that will go. Now again, if this is not your first time working with the customizer, then you've seen this before, but again, I'm trying not to assume too much about what you do or don't know about how these themes work, since this is a basics. So you see that's where the image went. Now we'll get rid of it. Just leave it at that. Scroll down, now we'll do the site fave icon, which if you gotta look at the demo, was a StudioPress Genesis icon. So I have that ready here. Have to get back to the root of this demo folder a bit. Here's the icon. And we're going to drop that in. Alright, so now you have that as the fave icon for the site. Now, if there's some reason that you need or want to work with StudioPress's assets for your site or project, as I need to do for this presentation, they have a brand asset page where they give you access to all of that, along with instructions on their best practices for use, which is studiopress.com/brand-assets. Okay, so from here, we'll move on to the first of the two menus we're going to install, which will be the header menu. Into the menu section. Now these likely came in with the demo content, so you don't have to build them out yourself. So if we go to the header menu, this is everything you got as far as this demo content, and it's simply a matter of turning it on. So this is the header menu. We'll put it in the header section, and that's it. So we'll go back to the site and take a look at it. And now you'll see it has all the sections that we briefly moused over in the live demo. Now, if you're wondering if any of these links actually work, well, as far as this Genesis sample is, some of them do. Not all. Now, just about every other demo I've ever used, all the menu links will actually work and link to pages. I'm not sure why it doesn't do this for this sample. Maybe it's because they actually want you to, well, they being StudioPress, want you to get someone else, but there you have it. Now, if you actually head over to the download button, for you devs in the room, you will actually get to the GitHub page for this sample. So if perchance you're looking at this and you think you can fork it and do better, this is StudioPress's way of saying, put your keyboard where your mouth is. So, moving on from here, this is where we'll start to build out the sidebar section of this page. Right now, it's just some text recent posts. We look at the live demo, you see we have a newsletter opt-in widget, some social icons, a search bar, and a more descriptive recent posts section where the posts have thumbnails and author links. So let's head back into the customizer inside the dashboard under appearance and get started on that. So go under widgets, and the first thing you'll notice when you bring up the widget section is that they're basically telling you that there are more sections than they're showing you here. So if there's a section you know you need to work on the widget section under customizers and you don't see it here, you can always step out of this a bit and under appearances again, go straight to the widget section and build out here. Now, of course, you could always just start from here, but if you're new at this, you'll want to do as much as you can from the customizer section because at least there you'll get to see changes in real time. Now, because the primary sidebar and at least footer 1 are at least both in both places, we're going to go back to the customizer and we'll at least start the updates from there. Now we'll go to the primary sidebar and we'll add a widget. Now remember, the three additions we need are the search bar, the newsletter opt-in, and the social media section. Now, as you start to scroll through this, you'll see that you're not really seeing the newsletter opt-in widget or the social media icon one. Again, for this particular demo, you'll have to run and get those on your own from the plugin market built inside WordPress. But again, for most others, if there are widgets you need that don't come with it, they will pretty much direct you to a list where you can automatically download them in one place. So we already had the search bar, we threw that in. Now we're going to come to plugins and add new and grab the other two that we need. And they're Genesis based, so we'll just type in Genesis up here. And what pops up immediately is the first one we need, Genesis eNew Extended. So now we'll go back Now we need simple social icons, and now we have that one. And just as you saw in the quick look of the documentation for this build, they give you a list of all the plugins that the demo uses. So worst case scenario, if you're missing something and they don't flat out direct you to it, they'll tell you how to find it on your own. So now we have the widget plugin here. We'll drop this in. And we're going to open it up real quick. You can see all the sections. And just to keep this video short, I did a little jump where I filled them in for you. And as you can see, now the email newsletter option is sitting at the top of the sidebar. So next we'll put in the simple social icons widget. We'll slide that into place. And now here, we'll just show you all the various sections. And as you can see, I've done another jump here just to show you what this looks like completed. We'll publish that. And looks like we're getting well on our way to our finished product. So the last thing we need to do is work on our recent posts. And as you can see, this one here doesn't do everything that we'll want the section to do to match the demo. We'll just take another quick look at the demo to see what it is we're aiming for. So we're just going to pull this one out, and we're going to drop in the Genesis variant, which actually says feature posts. And this is everything we're going to fill in. And once again, as you've seen from the video jump, I just cut out the part where I did all the typing. But I'll do a brief scroll here so you can see all the changes that were made. And also went ahead and pulled out that demo post at the top that came with the stock theme. So now as you can see, we're getting closer to the demo target that we're aiming for in this demonstration. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the sidebar. So next, we're going to do this footer section. It has these 3 content areas laid out in a row. So when we come back to the widget section, again you see we just have the one. So we'll start with the one here, and then we'll move on to the other 2 sections that are actually under widgets. So for these sections, we just need a simple text box. Just see what we need for this first one. Do a quick copy and paste, and this time around I won't do a jump. I'll fill this one out and then I'll jump through the other 2. Take that, link it to nowhere. So scroll down. Okay, so we have that one section done. Now to do the other two, we'll just come out of Customizer and head into the actual widget section. Now, take a quick look at footer one, and you'll see that the design section that we added in Customizer is also here. And we'll just slide some text sections into both of these. And as you can see here, here are the finished sections done. We'll head out to the site and take a look at those. And it looks like we're pretty good for this part. So our site is pretty much coming together. It's almost done. Do a quick flyover of both sections here. So from the looks of it, the only thing we really have left to do is to add in the menu at the very bottom of the 5 major social media links, or major insofar as what the designer of this demo theme decided. So for that, we'll just head back to the menu section of the customizer. And this is another menu that likely came down your demo content that you just have to turn on. So this is the footer. We'll put it to the footer menu. And great, now that's in. And actually, before we wrap this up, let's head back to the widget section one last time and go to sidebar. And let's do simple social icons. It looked like it was missing 2 buttons, so we'll just throw those in. So let's do one more flyover. And it looks like we're pretty much done. Now, for those of you that have a keen eye, you're probably noticing that our demo is missing the our shop section from the live demo. That link leads to a demo view of a WordPress page under the theme, and that will require WooCommerce. leaving that out for the purpose of this demonstration because it doesn't really add anything to what I'm trying to show you here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our top to bottom build of the Genesis Framework setup, install, and Genesis sample build. And that's pretty much it for this presentation on the Genesis Framework and the sample build. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I sincerely hope you got something out of it. If you want to check out some of this stuff for yourself, here's a link to the WordPress site, and there's also a link to the Genesis sample page itself. Again, thanks for watching.